Welcome into another edition of Gas. I am Gresh. He is Jason Anik.
You were playing everybody and we're winning the game last night.
The head coach is fighting people on the sidelines.
What do you got for me?
I know you're a part of the Tight Pants Society.
No fucking play is that a gimme, right?
All right, everybody, another edition of Gas. We are up and roll. Most of us are up and rolling this morning. Well, I had a 5:30 airport drop off, so I woke up, went back to sleep, and I'm now trying to come back around after going to last night's Patriots game as well. Jason Anik looking fresh and clean. You have a court date? You shaved it all down? You look good, babe.
That's hilarious. Bro, so you were at Gillette, right? And I'm always on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, brother. I literally sent you a text. I was like, I want to be inside your kitchen because I know you were cooking for the whole family. So you sent me an image there. You sent me an image from Gillette Stadium last night. So I love sort of knowing what it's like for you because I'm sure you get recognized. And it's got, like, for me, if I saw you there, that would be the highlight of my night. I'm not blowing smoke. So any fans come up and say, hey, what are you doing here? AG,
yeah, I have a way of hiding. So I sort of know how to hide in plain sight.
Oh, you're being serious.
No, I'm dead ass serious. So whenever we go up there, so first of all, my wife has been going to these games in the club, Jay, for like 15 or 20 years now. The amount of people who are a little touched that she has met, like she has this guy, he's a lawyer with the MBTA or works in the MBTA. His Christian given name is Dan.
For those who don't know, that's the Massachusetts Bus and Transit Authority.
Thank you. Right? My wife thinks this guy looks like Tony Stewart, so she calls this guy Tony Stewart. I never knew his given name for years. There's Joseph's Pita Bread. I don't know if you've ever bought that. The guy Nabil, right, who owns that company, is roaming. So all these people that chances Jay knows who Tony Stewart is. That's pretty good, I gotta say. No, but it's like she's got this like whack pack of people there. So I know some of them are going to come over. And then after a little bit of that, bro, you know what it is? I normally have a hooded sweatshirt on, as you can tell. So I'm just kind of sitting there at a table. And now at Gillette in the club, they give you free food to some extent, right? Like they have gourmet stuff you'd still pay for. But if you want like pizza, hot dog, something like that, and they give you candy as well, I'll go up and get my 2 slices of pepperoni pizza, and I'll get my thing of Swedish fish, and I'll literally go to the table right where my wife is bullshitting with everyone, and I just pop my hoodie up because the people go in and out the door. The air is blowing on you every once in a while, so it's a good excuse, and I can hide in plain sight for at least a little while. And then the game starts, and God forbid I say something during the game because there's dudes behind us who have been there forever that I know. They're good people. We had some schnooks in front of us one year from New Hampshire where the woman, the daughter, like she's like an older adult daughter who it was these people who won the lottery, like stole my wife's purse, and I had to yell at these people and they moved their seats. They went to the red side. They went to the red seats on the other side. It wasn't quite like me cussing the guy out at the Pepper Mill in Las Vegas, but it was something to say the least. And she lost her mind. But Jay, let me tell you, let me, I know I'm rambling. Let me weave this into kind of my lead story today, and you'll appreciate this. Gillette Stadium is back. Like last night, there was a palpable buzz and feel that hadn't been there really since Brady playoffs, at least for me anyway. And but now listen, I don't need a goddamn house DJ, Patriots. So we have that and like a drum line now and all this other, because the team sucked for a couple of years, they have to dress it up with all this happy horse shit. And then now, oh, here it is, second quarter. Patriots are up there playing great. Here's little Peanut with fucking tub thumping. and everybody bouncing around at the stadium. In the middle of the second quarter, you're up 17-0. This is what you do in Cleveland to keep people interested. Have a drum line and baby beat nuts spinning the hits out there over near where the new lighthouse is. I don't need any of that ish. I can tell you that, because the football is good once again, Jay. And when you go into that place, you know what it was like when Brady was there, and you know what it was like when Brady was there for the playoffs. I really, truly believe that feel is back. And when they get the number 1 seed and they're playing, the Chargers or whatever on divisional weekend, it's going to feel like old Gillette again.
I know we're going to get into last night's game specifically, so I'll hold some of my bullets, but gosh, it's difficult for me to curb my enthusiasm sitting home, right? And last week, we come at you every Tuesday morning, and gosh, a Monday night game after Tuesday morning doing our show, and all that Thanksgiving week is, it feels almost like, wait, was this week 14? No, the Patriots still playing in week 13, but it gives so much opportunity for things to transpire. I want to keep my thoughts close to the vest in terms of the game itself, but I want to ask you, I'm a fan, right? Like I just said, I can't even curb my enthusiasm sitting at home watching this game. So for you, as a national radio broadcaster for years, but guy too, to an extent, how much of you is a fan last night, like fucking rooting for the Pats?
I'll tell you the one time where I cheered. I almost stood up out of my seat. Now you got to now just so people know, as you get older, you get colder. Okay. So I am wrapped in a Buc-ee's blanket like a burrito, okay? And when people would come by, I can go on a whole nother rant of, you have 20 seats in a row and some dipshit in seat 18 can't go in on the other side to where you're moving 2 people. Instead, you make the whole row stand up. I was groaning by everybody. My wife's like, shut up. She's like, don't do it. When Ellis hit Dart, that was one time where I was like, yes, that felt awesome. And the whole place, there are very rare times, right, where there's such a play, like even on a tough catch, like the one that Booty had, the crowd all doesn't react in unison. On that hit, that was the rare time where 68,000 people had the same reaction at the same time. And then everybody cheered because he legally knocked the shit out of him. When you turn into a runner, you can get smacked around. I thought it was a great play by Ellis. I didn't think it was cheap at all. And when they showed it on the replay, you could hear everyone almost in the stadium say, that's not a penalty. It was really weird. They put it up on the big boards, and then you hear all of a sudden, you hear people come, that's not a penalty. It's not a penalty. Ah! And then they separate them, and then they did the whole offsetting fouls and stuff like that, or whatever that turned into. But yeah, when Ellis hit the crap out of Dart last night, that was one time where it was like, yes, I actually did sort of cheer and get wrapped up into everything that was last night. And Jay, I gotta say, they did last night, and I know that we're going to get into more of it, but that's what good teams should do, right? Like, we remember what that is like, where it's the whole, you're going to play a lesser than, you beat them by 2 touchdowns, and it's no big deal. And that was last night. It was very matter of fact. When they got up 17-0, the sideline, Jay, that's one thing I watch when I'm at a game. I want to see the interactions on the sideline, people going in and out. How's the communicating going on? It is. I mean, they're a well-oiled machine with Vrabel. And the one thing I like about Vrabes is even if the fullback goes in for a play, if that guy makes a nice block, he's getting a little love from the head coach as he comes by. It might be his only play of the night, but it's little things like that. I see positive reinforcement on the sideline a lot, but I also see real coaching going on. Like, Vrabel's not afraid to tell these guys they got to get their stuff together. But man, I love the way their sideline operates. You can tell that the players are having fun. how many handshakes do Booty and Steph Diggs have together? It's just really cool to kind of watch it in the house. And you know me, Jay, I'm pretty tempered, but last night I walked out of there and I said to my wife, because we were thinking of going to UFC 324 out in Vegas. We're thinking of maybe making a trip late January. And I said, we can't go. They're getting the number 1 seed, and they're probably going to be in the AFC Championship game that weekend.
Wow. Well, you said a ton there. So many different ways in which for me to take it. But I think I'll talk mostly about the Patriots because we are going to get into that in our topic. So you talk about Vegas, right? And you talk about UFC 324 AFC Championship game weekend. That's January. That's Paramount Plus. The final pay-per-view. Final pay-per-view is this weekend. I wasn't going to go because my daughter's birthday is December 6th, but we moved some things around. So I'm leaving day of again. I'm actually going to get there with maybe 3 or 4 flights to go on the main card, but I'm going to crawl in through the back kitchen or whatever with my credential and find my way to UFC 323. So let's touch on that before we talk for another 30 minutes about the New England Patriots. So, what happens to me often with these UFC cards, we talk about UFC 322 in New York being so stacked. You and I think we're comparing it a little bit to UFC 300, and man, did it deliver. But this UFC 323 card for me, where I was like, whatever, I'm not going out to Vegas. It's just okay. As it gets closer, a lot of fights pretty compelling for me. I think today we only got time for the co-main and main event. But what I will say quickly about the co-main event, Alexandre Pantoja, Joshua Van, right? So Joshua Van, it's his 4th time fighting since March 8th. Fought twice in June, fought short notice against Brandon Royval. That was UFC 317. Actually, last time Pantoja fought as well. But if there's a dude who's going to have any shot to get Pantoja, isn't it the 24-year-old Joshua Van with bombs in his hands? If there's any way this is going to happen, because Pantoja, I know he's got a chin, feels untouchable, choked out his last 2 opponents. I mean, dude's just unstoppable. Already defended this belt 4 times. But for me, it's a very compelling matchup because if there's a dude that can get it done, it feels like Joshua Van's the guy.
Yeah, for the flyweights, sometimes the power doesn't translate all the time. I think it does with Josh Van, right? Like he's explosive, but he's also really explosive for the weight class. And I feel what you're saying, Jay, is that if anybody is going to get Pantoja, it's going to be somebody who with just one shot can maybe at least, if not turn his lights out, come close enough to it to where you can then finish him on the ground, or maybe try to, I don't know about choking him out, but maybe then finishing him on the ground. But there's something about Pantoja where in these defenses, Jay, I think he's gotten better and better. And maybe it's just, if anything, just confidence more than anything else. Now fighting these guys at the highest of levels, they're running people at him, and he's been great. To your point, if there is going to be a guy, it's going to be Van because he can turn his lights out. But for me, it is hard to go against Pantoja in this spot.
Yeah, hard to walk up to the window and place a bet against Alexandre Pantoja. I think it's a nice matchup for Pantoja coming off Kai Kara-France, right? You did sort of have that potential big power coming back your way. I'm not necessarily suggesting I'm picking Joshua Van, but I also like the 24-year-old kid. I believe Kenny made a point on the Anik and Florian podcast this week about sort of sometimes the youth, ignorance is bliss. So almost the young guy coming in 24 years old against the 35-year-old. At some point, it is going to be time. But I think it's interesting. You talk about the power translating at flyweight. You could even apply the same thing at bantamweight with Merab. Where's that 135er out there in the universe that has that power to shake up Merab? I'm not sure he exists. So for me, this is the most interesting matchup for Pantoja in a while. Hard to go against him. Anything else in the co-main event from you?
No, that's about it. Van's got a chance because it's explosive. Otherwise, I am team Pantoja in this one.
So Merab Dvalishvili won the bantamweight belt at Sphere in September of 2024, has already defended it 3 times. It's just insane. His opponent, Petr Yan, hasn't lost since losing to Merab. That was March of 2023, 5-round unanimous decision. I know John and Kenny watched that fight back. Cody was a part of that sort of watch along. That number looks insane, Gresh, minus 425, but that number is by an insane man in a good way, Merab Dvalishvili. It's hard for me to envision him losing in any way, shape, or form. Maybe Jan's the guy that catches him. I just think Merab getting better and better.
Jay, there are not a lot of people that, especially at this point in my life, where I say, boy, I'd like to meet that guy or go to dinner with him just to pick their brain. Merab is one of those people because, to the point, no wonder he's a 425 heavy favorite. He's an animal. He doesn't get tired. This is a dude who, like, is running a mile before a fight or something nutty like that.
Ray said he's going to do 10 rounds the day of the fight because he has 5 rounds in the back, and he's not fucking kidding.
That's crazy, right? And you know what? And a guy like Ray Longo doesn't seem to, like, I think he's learned how to manage Merab and let him do this kind of stuff because he's proven he can still go do it and go out and fight at a really high level. I have a ton of respect for Petr Yan. I just don't think he's going to be the guy that is going to drag Merab into deep waters. If anything, it is clearly the other way. I just think that Merab right now, he's not just on a heater. He is showing us how great he really is, because I don't know there's anybody in the UFC, Jay, that pushes themselves to the limits that Merab does.
And I believe his limits may be further than anyone else's limits, because a lot of guys are the hardest workers in the room. But, John made an interesting point, my brother John, on the Anik and Florian podcast. You got Merab on chasing, he is becoming the greatest MMA fighter of all time. So is Islam Makhachev, right? Simultaneously, we may be looking at the two great, we can call John Jones GOAT all we want. This is hilarious of Merab smashing his head back in the day. We could tote the narrative, Gresh. Oh, is it too much? Did Merab bite off more than he can chew with all these title defenses? It doesn't matter. It all blends together for Merab. So I love him to win. Before we move on to the Patriots, do you have any action yet? Will you be gambling on this card in some?
I'll probably as it gets closer, I will probably look at pairing Merab and Pantoja to keep it, to both win. So what's that get it down to? -133. Yeah, I like those odds way better on parlaying the champions together.
So I hate to say this publicly, but I do think Joshua Van is going to get it done. I feel as though Pantoja, it's just going to be time. I would not necessarily, I don't bet on MMA, so I don't come at it from that angle specifically.
Right.
But sometimes I think things are going to be shaken up, and I believe they are, and I have a right to change my opinion. As you recall, I changed my opinion on the Jack Della Maddalena Islam Makhachev fight on this show once you showed me Islam on creatine and strength training regimen, getting ready for the fight. So,
Islam on weights.
But I just feel as though in the universe, Joshua Van going to be champion. For some reason, I feel as though that's going to be the case. No disrespect to Pantoja, who also is putting himself in a greatest of all time conversation with what he's putting on paper.
No, there's no question. You know what I might do then is take a unit and split it and go Merab Van and then Merab Pantoja and have a little action maybe both ways, but
and peek at Van in the first, second round, maybe by knockout if you like him, maybe get a better odd than the +210 or whatever it is. Go ahead.
You know what? Your lean in your thoughts and feel is usually pretty good. Maybe Van plus the 5.5 in terms of the fight spread. If he can get a round or two, then maybe that's the way to go in terms of betting that one. So what is it? Van first round +2,000, second round +2,200. Am I seeing? Third round, what's that? 25, and then 28, and then there you go.
And Pantoja would tell you save your money. I'm not being finished. What are we talking about here?
Oh, 100% he would. No question. Question about it. There's I know you're getting Tyra and Moreno. Peyton Talbot's going to be on this card against Henry Cejudo. Just my mom texted me because my dad's getting big surgery today on his
good luck, brother.
On his gooter. Yeah, he'll be fine. Old coal miner, Christ, he's falling down like wells and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So he's a tough old buzzard going down. When he worked his first 3 years underground in the mine, they were still doing we're bringing the bird with us. And if the bird keeled over, you had about 10 minutes to get out of there or you were next. I know, it's pretty crazy. My old man's like, you talk for a living? I mean, he worked in the coal mines for like 20 years and was like, that's goddamn work, one of those. But he's going in for some hernia surgery today. But anyway, I love Peyton Talbot against Henry Cejudo.
So do I.
It's just
tie it to an NFL game. It's gonna happen.
You know what? I'm with you. And here's the thing: it's as much a fade Cejudo thing at this point in his career, as it is Peyton Talbot. Now, I'm sure that Talbot number, it's still minus 278. Wow. Like, I wondered if that thing was going to run. Yeah, I think there are some options there to throw some things together. You got Macy Barber and Karen Silva. That's going to be a good fight. That's Silva. Yeah, Silva can go. I mean,
I agree.
Macy Barber's got a tough day at the office there, but yeah, Jay, it's crazy to think that for the way a lot of, now I know your world in UFC is very different, I think, but for a lot of us who are, not as close to the promotion as you are, there's I don't want to say it's sadness, but it's the whole, wow, this is the last ESPN card. This is the last one that's going to be on ESPN Plus, and then everything is moving to Paramount Plus, and it'll be much easier to follow and purchase this product to be able to kind of run along there. But in a way, Jay, it is kind of the end of an era for UFC, because there was so much in my opinion, there was so much in validating the promotion, right? That quote unquote ESPN wants to be in business with you. When you think about it, Jay, when we grew up, they would say there were 4 major networks, right? Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC. It's really 5. The 5th major network is ESPN. We don't think of it that way because it's on cable. You don't get it over the air. But in reality, the next biggest network to go along with them is ESPN. And the fact that UFC got fights in through on ESPN Plus, got that promotion, but also had stuff on goddamn ABC. Like, I think we've seen the sport grow. Now, for a lot of people, it's just normal that, hey, I'm going to press the button and it's going to come on. There was a period of time where it wasn't that easy to be able to get this product. And in moments like this, recognizing how far the promotion and the brand has come, I think is one of those things that you stop down and do. When I think of the ESPN era of UFC, I'm going to think of your brother.
Well, and I'll tell you, I'm glad that you press pause there to think about that as we just roll in this content-driven world and 7.7 billion. COVID-19 and ESPN, what it did for this promotion, being the only show in town where Dana was trotting out events every weekend when everything else was dark, but it was on television too. It's not just ESPN Plus, right? You put ESPN on in a random bar, you're going to get a fight night. And that ESPN is the default. I've worked in bars in the past where they say no news, ESPN on every TV, right? So that component for the UFC, bringing the blood to television in a way where maybe it wasn't before, I think it exponentially grew the product. And I think that hopefully they'll be able to sort of keep that momentum going in a world where everything's digital, right? It's like, I have Peacock. I don't know why. My wife watched some random Love is Blind show. I think that might be why, or whatever. Love Island, right? That's why I have Peacock, right? So do I have Paramount Plus? I don't even know, right? So, but ultimately, I'm still going to have ESPN Plus. I still think the UFC fans will gravitate over there. And I think there's no secret why Diego Lopez may be headlining in that fight, because they want to blow it out for their first main event.
And I would also say this too, that when a lot like I think NASCAR and WWE, UFC has a lot of brand loyalty. And I think those people who have that brand loyalty, who love it, will travel. WWE, now again, I know that under the TKO umbrella, there's UFC and WWE, and they are different products, but when you're looking at the business strategies now, like now that PBR is in the mix, the TKO group, it's like, oh, we'll sell a whole weekend to Kansas City. You'll get a UFC fight on this date, WWE Raw being on this date, and then you got PBR this weekend. And you're doing these deals with these cities, but you're spreading it out, right? So now the brand is everywhere. Everyone respects it. I think, what states, Jay, that have athletic commissions now look at UFC very differently. Agreed. The guy in New York, Randy Gordon's a friend of mine. I worked with him at Sirius, and he said the dumbest thing he ever did was, boxing, Ultimate Fighting in a corner in New York. So he was one of the ones who tried to work so hard to sort of, flip that around. I think we now have a completely different perspective on the sport. And for those who know nothing about it, like some of these politicos or athletic commission assholes or whatever, ESPN brings that's a big stamp of validation to a lot of these people who maybe don't completely understand the sport or just think it's barbaric or it's what it was, 25 years ago when fat ass Tank Abbott was rolling in the ring.
It's a very interesting conversation. One I didn't intend to have today. You use the word barbaric. I'm going to use it to transition to Christian Ellis, and when we talk about that game last night for the New England Patriots, and it got you off your chair, but man, like in an era of protecting the quarterback, right? And you saw a lot of plays the past couple of years, not as much last year, but 2023 and before, where let's say Patrick Mahomes is the best example that comes to mind, where he's skirting along the sideline and no one wants to commit a penalty and he's getting 8-12 extra yards because no one's going to hit him on the sidelines. So that Jackson Dart hit, obviously, the NFL has corrected in a very good way, but that particular hit and the way the Patriots violence and Christian Ellis, what did he do to Gunnar Olszewski on the punt return too? That was Ellis too. And like, that's the type of shit that makes me feel as though this fucking team can win the whole thing.
Know what?
Right? It's like,
you're right.
That's what it is. It's like, and what you say about Gillette, it's like, look, those two linemen go down. It doesn't matter. Right. I thought Mike Florio and Devin McCourty were great. Some of the comments they made post show and this morning about Mike Vrabel treating this last week, that Cincinnati game, almost like a loss, right? Where these boys were ready to go. And you talk about them getting the 1 seed. If they get the 1 seed, win one playoff game, you host the AFC Championship game, regardless of the injury, regardless of everything, I believe maybe more than ever this morning, Tom Curran came out and said, they could lose 3 straight games here with the Giants and then Buffalo and Baltimore. It's like, I wish the Ravens and Bills luck in putting together a complete football game to beat this New England outfit. Because anyway, I see you chomping. I'm fired up.
But Jay, the Buffalo game is now a hat and t-shirt game. And I know a long time since we've had one of those around here in terms of a hat and t-shirt game and being able to win the division. And you know what? It's a line from Jerry Seinfeld, admittedly, but they used it in one of the episodes, the way a dirt farmer dangles a carrot in front of a donkey. That is the way Mike Vrabel has used the bait, let's say, to keep this team going. And now it naturally takes care of itself. Now that guy can stand in front of the room and say, all of the work that you all have put into this program is now coming to fruition with our chance to win the division here tonight or this week. And I'm telling you, I think that group is engaged. I hear, hey, I got high school games at Gillette this weekend, right, for the MIAA. I got 2 on Friday and 4 on Saturday on TV 38 for those of you watching in the Boston area, right? So it's so I'm on TV 38 and I'm
TV 38.
I've been texting with people in the building the past couple of days as we've been, getting things set up and asking questions, and we have like our big formal meeting tomorrow on Zoom, but everyone I talk to, every person up there, Jay, I've had conversations with probably 8 different people over text, kind of over the weekend leading into the MIAA stuff. And every time it comes up, people say, Vrabel's just completely changed the vibe here. And it was really behind the scenes as well, where Vrabel just didn't do this on the field. It was off the field as well, of people working in the organization that he either influenced or replaced.
Look at this quote from Harold Landry. Cody put this in the chat. I insisted he bring it to the program. The final line, I don't think I could enjoy coming to work more than I do here. It's just profound, right? And look, you don't have to worry about the NFC until you get to the fucking Super Bowl.
That's right.
Let's not worry about the NFC being better or more elite on top. The Rams didn't win this week. The AFC, we talked about it last week, I've talked about it on multiple shows, is wide open. Wide the fuck open. Chiefs, Ravens, Bills. I don't know. Bengals going to creep in there. Bengals going to go beat the Bills this week. There's so much variance. Yet, if I look at this objectively, right? I'm in the sauna the other day at the gym, right? And it's quiet. There's like 7 fucking sausages in there. And one guy's like, hey, what do you guys think about, who's going to make it to the Super Bowl, right? This is before the Patriots game. This is Sunday morning. Not a single person drops a Patriots anywhere, right? And I'm like, hey, let's not forget about the 1 seed in the AFC. I know I'm a Patriots fan. I feel as though they are forgotten, and maybe a little bit were forgotten by me with those line injuries, me maybe drinking a little of the Tom Curran Kool-Aid, being like, oh, they could lose 3 straight. Gosh, man, I'm blown away, man. Just blown away.
I know that you and I are in a picks to the death contest, and there was a small part of me that was going to try to talk you out of going with the Giants because I was very much feeling the other way. But Jay, you mentioned the AFC playoff structure, right? And, the NFL gives us media rubes a little access to this NFL website that gives you the standings currently, but also the breakdown of like the conference wins and things like that. Here's Jay where Kansas City is screwed. If they win 5 in a row, they'll push their way to 11-6, but they'll only be 8-4 in the conference. And that's one of your first tiebreakers. Right now, Kansas City is 3-4 in the conference. For comparison, the Chargers are 7-2. Right. So just to see the difference in one of the bigger tiebreakers in the AFC, you're looking at those conference games like New England and Denver are 6-2 with, a batch of AFC games still to go. So for Kansas City, they have no margin for error. And Jay, I'm way less scared of them now than I was 2 weeks ago. I thought Kansas City coming in would have been a real problem. I think if Kansas City goes into New England, they're just going to run them over.
And like Denver, the only team that scares me of those 7 is the Patriots, if I'm being honest with you. That's the only scary team right now. I mean, like Denver scare you. They should have lost 4 of the last however many in a row they've won, but I do think, interestingly enough, when the Patriots are going to face a desperate Buffalo team, a desperate Baltimore team. So it'll be interesting to see how those games go down. And as we shift back a little bit to last night's game, you're going against a pretty inferior opponent. And I'll tell you, you can be sure. The reason I picked the Giants last week was Jameis Winston, right? As soon as I found out Jackson Dart was playing, even though I like him to some extent in the future, I like what he does with his feet a little bit. Oh, I love the Patriots when I knew they were facing that rookie quarterback. Jameis Winston has seen a lot of different things. He's going to throw to whoever's open. He's going to be going through progressions in a way that there's no way Jackson Dart can, in my opinion, especially after being concussed a couple weeks back. So that I thought Jameis Winston could make them believe. I love that man as a galvanizing force. So as soon as I found out Dart was playing, the line didn't move, but I definitely liked the Patriots. And it is what it is about picks on this show. We'll talk about it. You did very well last week where, we both 2 out of 3, but it is what it is. But Gresh, you talked on the open about a gambling component of your best bet of the week, the 49ers, minus 5.5, right? And how maybe you teased the other side. And so, opinions can change. I know I'm all over the place here, but can you talk a little bit about that? What happened? Because your gold medal play was 49ers on our show last week was 49ers minus 5.5. And that game was the reason you didn't hit a big teaser. Yes.
Yeah. Let me,
if you don't mind.
No. I have no problem mentioning it all. Let me pull up the ticket real quick. So what I did was, I bought 7. I pushed New Orleans to 12.5. I pushed Houston to plus 10. So those came in easily. And then for some reason, I saw a stat in the morning about the Browns, and when they cover, they're 5-1 ATS at home, 1-4 on the road. And I'm thinking, okay, the 49ers can be a little squirrely. And I went right with the underdogs and making the parlay. And after the first quarter, I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, San Francisco is my best bet. What was I doing? I could have had San Fran plus 1.5. I fucked it. I completely just screwed it up.
At one point in that game, it was 17-9, and the Browns muffed a punt. So you had a good chance to sort of catch on both sides. That one play swung the whole thing. I know I sort of transitioned to the bets a little bit there, but I really was confident in the Patriots last night. And, I really think if they can keep Drake Maye upright, I understand we don't know what's going to happen with Will Campbell, Milton Williams, Jared Wilson, the health of those players. But if they can keep Drake Maye upright, the AFC, gosh, it feels so gettable, doesn't it, Gresh?
Very much so. And when you look around the AFC, there's no one peaking. Like, you know who you could argue might be peaking? Houston. And they're on the outside of the structure, but look at the way they've played the last couple of weeks here. And they're getting frisky. That defense, I'll tell you why I had big confidence last night. The Giants' defensive line, everybody pees their pants over the pass rush. they don't want to fight. They don't want to stop the run. Like Cleveland's got the great individual pass rusher, but they play the run really well, or they play it tough. Same for Houston. They play the run tough.
Yep.
The Giants going into last night were allowing 5.96 yards per carry, which would be like one of the worst in the history of the NFL. Like they're trending towards allowing the most yards per carry in NFL history. They just don't want to stand up and fight. And there's no discipline on that football team with Carter. First of all, the funny tweet about, I don't know if you saw that out there, people were falling for it at the game last night. Oh, Abdul Carter's not playing because they caught him watching porn. And I'm like, no, he was late. They would tell him to turn the porn off, if anything else, in a male-driven environment. Been there, done that in certain locker rooms, for crying out loud. There's always weirdos on the laptop, they're watching. But anyway, I just, that defensive line, man, like everybody talks about it, and it's great to have a pass rush, but if you're in 3rd and 3 all night, like it felt like that Giants pass rush was nary a problem last night.
Yep. Well, and ultimately Drake Maye, I think one of the commentators brought it up, probably it was Joe Buck, actually, right? I like him more than his counterpart, the quarterback there, but I don't either. What am I saying? Did I just say I like Joe Buck? This show's getting off the rails. But alluded to, no, it was probably Aikman talking about Drake Maye stepping up in a way in the pocket. You talked about this earlier in the season, but he's stepping up in the pocket very decisively, maybe in a little way that he didn't do last year. But it's just Drake Maye. Every time there's a play to be made, he makes the play. And as we transition, talk about the NFL overall, it's like you look at the Patriots in all 3 phases. It's like, and oftentimes, casual NFL fans, you talk all about the NFL, you talk all about the offenses, you talk all about the quarterbacks, the receivers, the running backs, but this New England defense quietly, right, is good at all 3 levels, right, is able to sort of play really well on that line despite not having Tonga or Milton Williams last night, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, I know they're going against a Giants team, but this team is oddly deep. It's unbelievable how they've turned the page. I just believe them to be a true contender. And if I'm one of these NFC juggernauts, I mean, who are the NFC juggernauts even, right? As the Rams and Eagles both go down this week. And it's fascinating. I mean, Patriots, are they not the best team in football right now, Gresh?
Yeah, they, in theory, they should be. Now, I know there's percentages there of who's going to win the whole thing. And LA's looking the best at 17%, and then Philly, and then there's New England. But yeah, Jay, I think really, you said something very profound that I think we have to remind ourselves over the next two months or so. And that is, right now, the NFC doesn't matter. There's a whole side of the bracket that we don't have to concern ourselves with. It's really, what is the path going to be for the Patriots? And when you look at those wild card teams right now, I'll tell you what, Jay, the first of all, get the number 1 seed and you avoid the mess. But let's say New England is the 2. I'd be more afraid. Now, again, we got weeks to go. Right now, I'd be more afraid of Houston than I would be any of the, other teams or the ones on the outside looking in. Give me Kansas City, because defensively they're proving to be soft. The Steelers are flawed. Right now, the Texans are playing championship defense.
You took the words out of my mouth. The teams that I fear the most aren't on that bracket. And I actually believe that the Bengals, stranger things have happened, right? You don't think they can go in and win in Buffalo, right? With Joe Burrow? Who knows? The Bengals could win out. That's a team I most certainly don't want to face, right? I'll tell you right now, the Bengals go 9-8. They're going to win that division, in my opinion, right? Because that'll mean another win over Baltimore and Pittsburgh, right?
You know what? Here, I'll pull up the schedule.
No more
right
against
here.
Pittsburgh, but if they win at Buffalo, they're home to Baltimore, at Miami, home to Arizona, home to Cleveland.
Those last 3 they can win. That's kind of a New England
game for that
schedule.
team. So to me, that's a team I greatly fear, believe it or not, because I tell you what, Joe Burrow. But hey, you know what? We talk about not worrying about the NFC. It wouldn't be the first time the Patriots shock the world and beat the Rams. Let's say the Rams maybe would be favored over the Patriots. Good, but I'm curious how healthy and in shape Milton Williams and Will Campbell are going to be when they come back, right? Like I really believe in the reps, right? Everyone talks about basketball shape, right? And all of a sudden you see, we talk about the Celtics, right? Peyton Pritchard, right? Derek White. I feel like they're getting in basketball shape. We're a little more a little more under the jump shot, if you will. So I just worry a little bit about the health of those guys, because I do believe if they're really going to make magic and hoist a trophy or get there, they're going to need those guys to be firing.
Oh, no question. And slap the old knee brace on them. That's where the bye can really help. Like, I think and in particular, those kinds of injuries, Milton Williams on the short-term IR, and I know they have some pretty decent depth on the practice squad, as kind of shown last night. You had some people in the organization, but I'll tell you this, you get that bye, and a lot of things take care of themselves for New England. You know, we're back to those days where you get the bye. That is extra weeks where you get to practice. And I think we do need to remember, Jay, that for as much as there are a healthy amount of veterans on this squad, there is something to, as a particular group, you feel what I'm saying?
Yep.
Growing as a playoff team. And that is one thing, like we have to remember they're young and they could Lamar Jackson it, right? You're at home, divisional round, you slip on the banana peel that one time, and the next thing you know, you're eliminated. So I think we need to just remind ourselves, as giddy as we are, that the playoffs is wrought with complications, and to skip around, oh my God, the value of that now, especially for this New England team, given the injuries in the trenches. It would be so huge for them, so huge.
So the Patriots have won 10 straight games, right? And what I loved about last night, you talked about like the blowout component, right? Like elite team, you just blow teams out. And they did this a little bit early in the season. Look, they had some games that were sort of tighter, you know, even like that Thursday night against the Jets, felt like the Jets hung around a little, never really felt like the game was in the balance. But some of the games that they haven't blown teams out, like you're still winning a game at Tampa Bay. You know what I mean? A game against the Falcons, which was kind of a choppy game. They win by a point, but it's a tough defense, right? So they've made it through some of these games, even though the schedule doesn't look as good. They've still emerged victorious, won every single one of them. I tell you what, man.
Well, I'll tell you,
couldn't be more excited.
The thing that stands out to me is like Carolina. They caught them early in the year before they turned it around. You know, they pumped them 42-13. Okay, you went on the road to New Orleans. Now, New Orleans isn't a great opponent, but it was the middle of 3 straight on the road, and you went down there and won by 6, I think it ended up. Played Tennessee down there, blew them out 31-13. Browns blew them out 32-13. You mentioned Tampa. That's a 5-point win against a playoff team on the road. That's pretty goddamn impressive. Yep. They beat the Jets by 2 tuds. They beat the Giants by 2. This is the way championship New England used to handle things. They would play these teams and beat them by 2 scores, and they'd make it look easy. And that was kind of last night. And I think, Jay, for us as Patriot fans, followers, covering them, whatever, we have a deep bank of emotions to pull from, both good and bad. And when it starts to feel like the old days for me, that's where, you know me, I'm slow for the stamp of approval, but they're blowing out the really bad teams. They've been consistent. They have a great spirit about themselves. I still do think there could be one turd game along the way. Every team usually has a stinker. Even when Brady was here, there was a stinker. Jay, if they avoid the stinker and get the number 1 seed, they may just be telling us with the results how much better they are than everybody else in the AFC.
It really is unbelievable. You know, you think back to what Bill Parcells' great quote was about, you are what your record says you are, or you are. And it's not even about, it's to me, forget the record, forget the schedule. It's like about what we're looking at. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I can't wait to watch them play against good teams, because every time they play a team that is good, they find a way to get it done as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. You know, everybody loves prognosticating, right? And everybody loved talking about the Rams being the best team in football last week, and then they go at Carolina and they lose. And has anything really changed? Like, the Rams are still, to me, the class of the NFL. If I had a vote, I'd probably still go that way. But it's really interesting. I think the Dallas Cowboys, you know, my sister's husband is a Cowboys fan. And we spent Thanksgiving with him and his brother, and they're like watching the Cowboys game. And I'm more excited about the prospects of the Cowboys doing something this year because it's just same old Cowboys to them. And I'm like, whoa, boys, enjoy this. Like, they just beat the two teams that were in the Super Bowl last year. Like, the defense is getting better. Like, they got a shot. The NFL is funky this year, right? I don't know. It feels wide open, and the NFC feels like maybe it's starting to open up a bit too.
Apparently, Marcus Jones said in an interview, even on our days off, us DBs, we just watch film together and eat Chick-fil-A. That's fantastic. You know, it's like those, it's like the lineman meetings and stuff like that. You mentioned Bill Parcells. That's the modern day Bill Parcells is Lane Kiffin, ladies and gentlemen. And for those who don't know, do some research.
Well, and all right, you went there. So I was gonna, well, you know what? Fuck Lane Kiffin. But hey, it is what it is. I'm sure the dollars.
Now you sound like an Ole Miss fan. So can you imagine that they tried to run his car off the road? I don't know if you heard that when he did the LSU press conference, because Marty Smith went from one part of this airstrip. Literally, him and his ESPN team drove through apparently a field to get Kiffin to where they get him out of the car to do the interview, and it was near where he walked in on the plane, apparently. So there were people there who were booing the shit out of this guy. I mean, it was something. And apparently, Kiffin said in his press conference, he was like, yeah, when we were going to the private airstrip or whatever, he was like, a group of Ole Miss fans tried to, like, run us off the road. And all I can think of is some overall shit-kicking hillbillies hanging on to, like, a bar on the back of the truck, leaning over the side with a baseball bat, trying to swing away at this car or whatever. It's crazy. I mean, it's turning into like the Old West now, just with SEC coaches trying to get on a PJ. It's crazy.
So it could be a very long conversation, but let me just ask you one specific thing. Obviously, the Running Rebels are going to be in the 12-team playoff, right? And
we think,
you know, without their coach, they got a good team, right? Only loss was to Georgia by a touchdown, I think. So ultimately, what is it like? Some of those dudes picked Ole Miss 100% because they had the coolest, best coach in the country there.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's just so much to this. I understand the NIL money, but it's like, I guess, put yourself in the player's shoes. Talk to me a little bit since you've played collegiate athletics.
I've said this on the radio too. If I were a player on that team, I'd be pretty pissed. I would be. Now, the thing that flipped me, someone that apparently when the players went in for their meeting with the Ole Miss, I guess, chancellor and AD, they took everybody's phones apparently. So somebody got the burner phone that he's got for his girlfriend or whatever into that meeting, and they recorded like 4 minutes of the chancellor just being like, you can be great. You can still do great things, da-da-da. And then the AD named the guy Goldie or Golden or whatever, the defensive coordinator, the head coach, and the room erupted. The room erupted when it was, because you could hear everybody be like, oh, coach, and they're cheering it, and it got kind of louder. So I think maybe they saved it there at Ole Miss, but there's no question. Like, Lane Kiffin has every right to take that job. You're not letting him coach it. Like, Lane Kiffin is trying Lane Kiffin's trying to babyface himself that I'm not the bad guy. I would have stayed and coached. Piss off. You're leaving your team at a critical moment. Ole Miss would have given you $12 million a year. You ain't going broke. If it's ever about those kids, that was the moment where it should have been. And admittedly, in an era where the kids don't have to be loyal, there are a lot of people who say, why do the coaches? But man, to leave your team who has a legitimate chance, like, with all due respect to JMU, okay, James Madison and my friend Bob Chesney, the head coach down there, he's going to UCLA. Now everyone has agreed to let him coach in the college football playoff if JMU makes it. Jay, there ain't a kid recruited by James Madison that's being recruited by UCLA. There's no conflict of interest there. When you're in the same conference, you have to ship that guy out. So Lane Kiffin he's trying to deflect the best he can, but it's really a schnook move.
And well put. And, it reminds me a little bit, it's a different example, but how like the Dodgers in baseball have put themselves in this position to where it's like not really as fun anymore. I don't mind them winning, but it's just not as fun given there were always the teams that had money. But it's just stupid to me that that Ole Miss can get Lane Kiffin, make that type of move. LSU getting criticized profoundly for their Brian Kelly, right? Everyone, people losing jobs because Brian Kelly gets fired. Ole Miss makes the right hire, but they got no shot to keep him. It reminds me of like Marlins fans down here. You just got no shot. And that to me as a sports fan, it's so hard for me to gravitate toward baseball, college football, which was hard for me to gravitate toward in the first place with all this NIL stuff and this type of coaching stuff. It's very easy for me to leave it on the back burner.
And I'll tell you this, when that governor of Louisiana, I don't know if you saw that guy come out and grandstand. I don't know why we doing these contracts here like this. Like, and I do declare that we are never going to give another one of these motherfuckers $100 million ever again. And then they turned around and gave Lane Kiffin $100 million.
Well, right.
Well, do you know what the power move was? And I didn't realize this until I talked to somebody in Baton Rouge. That governor was really trying to get the AD. And remember, it was like the governor came out and was like, who's the dumbass that wrote this? And then the AD Woodward got shipped out. Apparently, the governor didn't like that guy in particular. So while the governor looks like an idiot for saying, we'll never give another person $100 million ever again, and they turned around and did it to Kiffin, he got the AD out, which was the real play. So that governor, like most of them, gets in front of the camera, woof, woof, makes a dope of themselves, but he got what he wanted. So he got that AD out of there. He got to put his guy in. Apparently, there's like some escalators in it that might make the governor a little happy, but it's not much different apparently from what the Brian Kelly contract was. That governor just used that move to pull a power play to run that athletic director out of LSU. I mean, that's some wild shit going on when you think that is politics at its finest at LSU.
I would love to know, and we will find out the difference in dollars for Lane Kiffin. Because I think if Ole Miss had matched every dollar, he's still going to LSU, right?
Agreed. Yeah. He was going to LSU because of they can win national championships here, allegedly. It's also the place to where if you're 7-4 for 3 straight years, they may not be very patient with you. And Lane Kiffin, could end up getting shoved out into the sweet good night if he doesn't hold up to the lofty standards of these people who have clearly lost their way in the leadership at LSU.
So as we shift to our week 14 bets,
pick them.
There are things about the Patriots and listening to you talk about not going to UFC 324 in January because of the idea that they're going to be potentially hosting the AFC Championship game.
I might be doing live pre and post right on the field. Yep. So I got to be there. I have to take it seriously. Jay, I've told the story before. When I was on the Patriots Radio Network, I used to have to tell Betsy, I would say, we can't plan nothing until the Super Bowl's over. And she's, it's kind of like, all right. And a lot of times whenever they would go to the Super Bowl, my father-in-law would be like, he'd look at the rest of the family and be like, hey, Andy's going to be there covering it. Do you all want to go? And the next thing you know, he's booking out a Super Bowl trip because he just wants to take everybody, right? So she's been to a bunch of them. You want to hear something wild? My youngest at 23 has already been to 5. Wow. That's crazy, right? But in our house, we have to take the schedule. I have to take the schedule seriously. And yeah, we were trying to find the way to get to 324. And then I said, wow, that might be championship weekend. I'm like, we're going to take the red eye back. And that's like a no-no in our house. That does not happen.
Yeah. And so where I was going with this,
sorry.
You led me well. You recall I cover the Professional Grappling Federation world, right? And I believe they are having their draft for season 9 in Vegas, February 3rd, which is Super Bowl week. So I'm sort of thinking to myself, and I guess what I'm saying is I've actually thought about the Super Bowl potentially. And when my brother John and I went to the Patriots' 6th Super Bowl, in which they won 13-3 against the LA Rams, so it was sort of like the bucket list was done almost for us. And the fact that I've even thought about the Super Bowl this year, because I actually think the Patriots have a chance to play in it, that was a this week thought. Even before the game, it just is starting to feel so wide open in the AFC that they're the best team. So I don't know, man. I'm really starting to think that they could do something. I mean, this kid is 23 years old, Drake Maye. It's insane.
No, it is. It is. And Vrabel has 1,000% brought culture back to New England.
Unbelievable. All right. Podium picks. For those of you that don't know, we've began this in week 7. We give you 3 picks against the spread each every week. We have a gold, silver, and bronze in order of importance. Gold is our best bet of the week. Silver goes down to bronze as our 3rd best bet of the week. We still like the bronze pick. 5 points for the gold medal picks. 3, 2, 1. 3 points for the gold medal pick, 2 points for the silver, 1 point for the bronze. So Gresh is on a fucking tear. Through week 13, Gresh 14-7. Tell you, that's a good record. 30 points. I am 9-10-2 with 18 points. We both hit 2 of 3 last week. Of course, I lost my gold medal game, which was the Giants plus 7.5. Your only loss was Atlanta in your bronze medal game, minus 2.5 versus the Jets. We were both on the Texans plus 4.5. Man, that was an opportunity, Gresh. I was on the money line as well. I hope you made some money on the Texans. And then your gold medal pick, San Francisco, minus 5.5. So you are hot, Gresh. Any takeaways from week 13 before we move into week 14?
No, I think we're starting to see a little bit of a separation now of the teams that are just outside that playoff structure, and then those that are in the top 7. Like the Chargers are starting to separate a little bit. Seattle is separating, even though they're a wild card team. I think we're now, over the next couple of weeks here, starting to see the groups that will ultimately find their way into the first round and lose on wild card weekend. It may not be Seattle. I'm kind of being glib, but I feel like we're starting to get a little bit of the teams that are going to play a couple extra weeks are now starting to show themselves.
Yeah, I hear you. I could play devil's advocate a little bit and say it's as wide open as ever. You and I are talking about the Texans like crazy.
Oh no,
right?
there's no great team, but I'm talking about like your 5, 6, 7s and your 7, 8, or
yes,
your 8,
and
9,
I'm saying I disagree with you. I don't think it's crystallizing. You mentioned You mentioned the Chargers. They lost 35-6. They had a bye week and then they beat the Raiders. They still got to prove it to me. So I guess for me, I think it's doing anything but crystallizing. I think the back end of both postseasons are really going to be wide open. But anyway, maybe that was not the point you're making, but you remain in full control of the board. So why don't you give us your bronze medal selection for week 14?
You know what? I think this team is catching a whole bunch of flack right now. They create their own drama, but they usually find a way to battle through it. So that's why at minus 2.5, so you can get me a 3-point win out there in LA. Give me Philadelphia. I feel like this is the time of year where people start to dog out Philly. And then Philly sort of rallies themselves and reminds everybody who the F they really are.
Love that. Love your breakdowns. And I've been tailing you in my sportsbook account, by the way. I make notes and I've been tailing you because you're hot. So, you know what I mean? Like, I host another show with a 49ers fan who liked the Browns last week, but I rode with Gresh minus 5.5 because your gold medal selection. I mean, we could see how many gold medal selections you've hit before. So I see the Eagles minus 2.5 as your selection, and it gives me a little bit of juice at wanting to play it, not only because I like Philly, but because you're hot, if I'm being honest with you. And I do like that spot. That Chargers offensive line still remains a little bit of a patchwork. That Eagles defensive line could do some things. So yeah, I like that quite a bit. I find it hard sometimes, Gresh, to figure out which play I want to be my gold versus silver and bronze, because oftentimes, I hate to say it, it's like process of elimination. When I look at the board on a Monday night or Tuesday morning, it's like, I don't like a lot of the games. Like, I'll tell you right now. So this week, even though it's my 3rd best play, I don't love 5 games. So I'm going with the Bengals plus 6 at the Bills. There it is. You see it on the board, right? Bengals need to win every game. Forget the points. Like, they were 7-point dogs last week. They win outright. I just think it's going to be close. I don't know what Buffalo is. I don't believe in them still. That Pittsburgh game was funky last week for Buffalo. I think Aaron Rodgers going out of that game, Trubisky, back up there is escaping me. Comes in, throws a pick right away. But anyway, the Bengals defense, we talked about against the Patriots, sort of didn't look like that collegiate outfit. They looked a little bit better, certainly looked a little bit better against the Ravens. So I think the Bengals can hang here. The Bills are 8-4. It feels almost like they should be happy to be 8-4, given that it's been a little bit of a bumpy ride. Maybe they get T. Higgins back from concussion in terms of Cincinnati. The Bills are going to face the Patriots off a bye week after this game. So I do think the Bills know they got to handle their business here. I just think the desperate Bengals keep it close here, so I'll take the 6 points.
You know what?
There is Rudolph, excuse me. Jeez.
There it is, Mason Rudolph. You know what it is, though, Jay? There is a theory that an old-time handicapper once told me about, hey, sometimes if you need a decider, the more desperate team might be the one to go with. So you're going with the points and the more desperate team. I don't hate that at all. And I think the Bills know they need the win, but they're just not very good. My silver selection, I'm gonna stick with the Texans. Why go away from them right now? And I'm in the camp that Kansas City is cooked. Defensively, they're not what they once were. They're just a tad off offensively. But here's the big thing, Jay. They can't run the ball. Kansas City can't run the ball worth a damn this year. Houston is so good. Their just natural defense, I think, slows down that KC run game. And then it gets into exotics and getting the pressure that you need to on Mahomes, and your offense not spinning the bit either. But I really like the Texans plus the 3.5. You know, I could see, even if Kansas City wins with a late field goal with the hook, I'm still covered.
Absolutely love it. And I love that you went right back with them. I like them a lot. I'm going to peek at the money line too. Right now, the Texans to make the playoffs are minus 155. You could have got a much better number before. Now I'm looking at Hard Rock Bet here. The Chiefs, right, are plus 115 to make the playoffs. It's very interesting. And
the odds have completely shifted on them.
And yeah, so I absolutely love that. And, you know, we've talked a little bit on this show about when one loss becomes two or bounce back spots or whatever it is, or, you know, it's like the Texans plus 3.5. Even last week, as we were starting to feel the Texans, it was like, how are the Texans getting 4 points? And it closed at 3. So I love that. All right. My silver medal selection, I may regret this one, Gresh, but I'm going to take the 6.5 points with the Bears at the Packers. Right now. So to me, this, I like that you like the other side right now. I don't want to overreact.
No, I'm curious to hear your breakdown.
I appreciate it. And I don't want to overreact to what Detroit losing to Green Bay on Thanksgiving and what Green Bay did. In terms of Jordan Love, I do believe that when he sort of lets it go and is a little bit wild and aggressive, that benefits him and it gives him that sort of moxie that maybe a guy like Drake Maye has even when he plays poised. I think Love needs to be more aggressive, more like Brett Favre, actually. But every week I look up and the Bears win the game or it's close. You know, they lost week 2, the Bears, 52-21 at Detroit. Since then, they've won 9 of 10. I believe they're the number 1 seed in the NFC, if I'm not mistaken.
They are as of right now, yeah.
So, and I still don't believe in the consistency of Green Bay. I think Green Bay has a chance to win the whole thing. They're better statistically than the Bears. But the Bears are just in all of these games. Their turnover differential for the Chicago Bears is plus 17, which a lot of people say, oh, you know, it's going to come back the other way. But it also tells you that they're protecting and taking care of the football. The next closest team is plus 9 in turnover differential. They're lapping the whole field. So that to me makes me also inclined to take the points in a division game. And look, am I believing everything in the locker room celebration? Good, better, best? Like, no, thank you. I'd much prefer Mike Vrabel than that Ben Johnson stuff. I can't wait to see how that goes all the way through, you know, taking his shirt off, good, better, best. So ultimately, it's not going to surprise me if Green Bay rolls here at home, but Green Bay hasn't proven to me they can play like they did on Thanksgiving every week. So I'm going to take the points.
Yeah, this is like what I call convergent stats. They just bang into each other. Relative to this matchup against Chicago, the Packers are 10-2 ATS in the last 12 meetings. However, this year, Packers are 1-6 ATS and 4-2-1 outright when laying at least 6 points this year. So historically they've done well against the Bears, who've also been run by a bunch of slaps, admittedly, and the Packers have been able to take advantage of that. Jay, I like your lean because I don't trust the Packers the Packers are not good enough to be a 6.5 point favorite against a comparable team. This is a number this is going to be the number, Jay, where it just doesn't look right, and you should have rode Green Bay because everybody was on it, or the rest of us look at it and go 6.5 for Green Bay. What the F? And you go the other way and bet Chicago.
Well, and you can be sure I'm not going to be surprised at all being wrong, but I also believe if the Packers hadn't done what they had done, and I know the Bears went and beat Philly, but this line just looks off to me. You know, you buy a 0.5 point, you get a touchdown here. I don't see this as a blowout, but the Bears, the arguments for the Packers, I could make them too. But to me, I'll go back to what I said before we made the picks. I look at this board, Gresh, and if I'm being honest with you, I don't love the board all the time Tuesday fucking morning. So,
no, I hear you.
Bears plus 6.5.
All right, so my gold medal play is I'm going with the Fighting Liam Cohen's getting points in Indianapolis.
Hosting.
Once.
They're home.
Oh, they are. Once.
Unless I'm mistaken.
Hold on. Let me I may have written it down wrong. Let me see here. Jags are at home. Here's the thing for me.
You like it even more now.
No, I don't respect the Colts. When they didn't close out Kansas City, you showed me what you are. And now they turned around and lost again to Houston. And I think they're going to turn around and lose again to the Jags are playing really well. All three phases have played well. I don't believe in Indy. I don't believe in Indy now. Again, they showed their ass in Kansas City. They're not tough. I don't think they're going to close. Here's the other thing, too. For as much as people were all over Danny Dimes at the beginning of the year, Jay, that's not a guy who's going to go, oh, let me play the role of Superman today like Josh Allen and just go get a win. I know you're a Danny Dimes guy. I don't believe in him at all. I think Indy is ripe for the picking here for the Jags. The Indy swoon is about to begin, or has begun, I should say.
I love the angle. I love the breakdown. You know, and you talk about Daniel Jones. He's playing with a fractured fibula. You know, and like that's a real thing. Did you hear, by the way, what happened to Anthony Richardson? Like, do you know what's going on with this guy?
Oh yeah, he either got was it the eye injury or something and it was in pregame
orbital fracture, right? Which led him to be hospitalized. It was back on October 13th, where before the game, a pole that he had affixed an elastic stretch band to snapped and broke his face. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So you got a fractured, not like that would be a big, not like that would be any better with Anthony Richardson, but I don't think Daniel Jones is healthy. And those of us that like Daniel Jones, we like his movement ability, even though he trips when he has wide open touchdown. So, but no, I like the lean in that spot. And I do think Liam Cohen is hitting more right buttons than wrong ones. I don't love everything. And Trevor Lawrence last week played one of the first games I've seen mistake-free ever out of him. I bet on him to throw an interception. He most certainly didn't. So I like your analysis there. What I would say, to play devil's advocate a little bit, depending on the health of Indianapolis, that's one of those spots where I'm like, this is one of those NFL games where you almost got to look at the other side of it because maybe Indy is going to revert back. But that's devil's advocate. I'm on the same side as you there.
One other quick thing. Yep. I think for Liam Cohen, it's cleaner and easier for him to run his offense when Travis Hunter isn't in it, because you're not thinking about where am I putting him? How am I getting him the ball? Oh, I need to get him a touch to keep him in the game, that kind of thing. Now Liam can just run the offense and not worry about it.
It's a great point, and I think that probably has some relief for Trevor Lawrence a little bit. Not of it, you talk about sometimes Brady didn't have to hone in on one guy, right? Jalen Hurts honed in on A.J. Brown last week. He had a couple touchdowns over 100 yards. They still lose the football game. That's really interesting stuff there. And Liam Cohen, bringing in Jacoby Myers, right? Which I feel as though Liam Cohen, a lot of people are like, what do you mean bringing in a receiver? Well, because they're trying to win a Super Bowl this year, and he's been good too.
And you're bringing in a slot receiver, which great offensive coordinators like Liam, like McDaniels, they know how to chew you up with the guy out of the slot, but you got to have the guy who's got the balls to run him over the middle. That's where Jacoby Myers really earns his money. He's not afraid to go over the middle where some of these guys are.
Totally agree. So my gold medal play here is trying to sort of pick a spot a little bit of a reaction against what happened the prior week. So I'm betting on the Rams -8.5 at Arizona to bounce back after losing at Carolina. So, sometimes I try and look for the blowout on the board. I think this may be the blowout on the board. I think the Rams are pissed. They were anointed the best team in the NFL by everyone, and then they lose to the Panthers. The Panthers had 2 fourth-down conversions for long touchdowns. It was a little bit of a fluky game. The Rams came back. There were a lot of lead changes. They did some good things. I just think going against Jacoby Brissett and that team who's lost 4 straight, I just like their chances to go handle their business. Last year, this game, Cardinals beat the Rams at home 41-10, September 15th. I'm sure Sean McVay is reminding them about that. And also, the number 1 seed, they had a tight grip on it. It's gone. Certainly not as tight a grip now. So next 2 games, home versus Detroit, at Seattle. I think this one is a must. I don't think they play with their food. I think they roll here. So I'll lay the 8.5 with the Rams at Arizona.
I hate this pick because it's going to hit. Yeah, you sold me completely. And then I just pulled up some gambling numbers. And I know, you may not love that I just said that, but you sold me on that. I think there's a lot of logic there. How about this? Rams 13-4 ATS against the Cardinals under McVay, including 1-0 in the playoffs. Rams 8-1 ATS as road favorites since the start of last season, 4-1 ATS this year. And the Cardinals are 1-5 ATS at home this season. I look at the Cardinals the same way I do the Colts. I got no respect for them. I love Marvin Harrison Jr. To me, a lot of the rest of that roster, maybe I keep Buda Baker. The rest of it, I don't know so much about it. For you, I hope Calamari plays, put the little guy in there, let him run around and throw a couple of picks. But yeah, that's what I wrote this. I literally, Jay, as you were saying it, I just wrote it down on my list of games to look at or mix into parlays or teasers this week, because I love the argument you just laid out there.
Well, and I'll tell you right now, maybe you heard this, maybe you didn't, but the Jaguars-Colts game, you heard me go devil's advocate a little bit and say, maybe this is one where but you convinced me. That was a game that I looked at. It was interesting. As I go and I look at the board, I'll have maybe a lean because I'm trying to pick 3 games. So I'm trying to pick a side. So when I first looked at that Jaguars-Colts game, I maybe leaned Colts, but I moved past it. I wasn't going to make a selection. But now hearing your breakdown and talking through that game, I feel more convicted. And yes, you've convinced me on the Jacksonville side, but I also have to try. I've talked to a lot of smart sports handicappers who play this league early in the week and they forget about it, right? Whereas I am not so much like that. I like to see how things play out. I played the Washington Commanders at the Vikings very early on. As soon as I saw the line come out, right? Commanders, I think +1.5 or whatever it may be. But I don't know how much I'm going to like that as it goes on, So I think, but what I will say is I think you've sold me on the Jaguars to the point where I really believe in fading the Colts again in this spot. So good stuff.
I threw your picks together in a 3-leg parlay.
Why not yours?
Well, $10 will pay 71.78 on yours. I have to calculate. I can calculate mine. What I was trying to do, and for some reason, when I go to UFC and then Fight Lines, they don't have the main event listed there. But take some of these football games that you and I really like, and then throw Merab on that some bitch.
Well, yeah. So there you go. So real quick, and I know we got to get out of here, but so Rams money line. All right. Rams win that football game. Maybe they don't cover, but you like them to win that game. You agree?
Yeah. Yep.
We both seem very bullish on Peyton Talbot.
Yes.
Right? You can find a 3rd or 4th leg, if you will. You know what I mean? I know the Rams is going to be a heavy money line, but you find a 3rd leg there. Like, I'm pretty confident those things come through. There's certainly some other NFL favorites that probably find a way to get it done as well. So I love the cross-sport parlay, especially when you're finding an MMA fight to tie with an NFL game.
No, I love it too. And it gives you, and if it hits, it's one wager over 2 events over 2 days. That gives you juice for a Saturday and a Sunday, which for a lot of people, they just need to be in the game. By the way, check out our guy Cody Merrow and his brand low score. This sweatshirt is it is comfortable, and Jay, it's getting cold as all get out up here. You know how
Yeah?
it is. Like, I know you're in Florida, but I went to the today I started the car. I'm not really a car starter unless I'm taking someone somewhere, because I don't want to hear people bitching, especially that early in the morning, because I'm not awake anyway. And I went out to start the car today, and it was like 25. And my kid said to me, he was flying back to Florida today, and he said to me, he was like, "You think my flight's going to be delayed?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think so." I'm like, "Why? What are you cooking up?" And he was like, "Oh, I was just going to try to go see someone." And the next thing I know, it's like we all got home from the game last night. It's like 1:00 in the morning. He left and he pulled in. I went to go wake him up at like 4:45 just to make sure he was ready. He's not in his bed. Like, where the fuck is this kid? So I got on the old app and he was driving home. So wherever he went, he did a little overnight before I took him to the airport, where he's now probably sleeping on a plane after doing whatever, right?
Okay.
To be
Good
23,
aggressive,
to be 23 again, right?
good aggressive utilization of those few hours prior to getting on a flight. Yeah.
And he pushed back going back so he can go to the Monday night game. So
Incredible.
he's the one who is my youngest is, he likes football. He'll go. My oldest is the one who's like got banners hanging in his room and shit like that.
Well, what a maximization of a 7-8 hour window of your life going to Gillette
seriously,
Stadium.
yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm just assuming, right? Like I'm assuming what the night was. Good for him.
Right. I mean, he's not going out driving a snowplow somewhere. I don't think.
Oh my God. It ain't that.
Just to let you know,
it's going to be that bad up in Cody's part of the world today.
Well, yeah. So my younger brother is down here visiting for Thanksgiving. He lives in Maine. He got stuck down here for an extra day. But I will tell you right now, Gresh, it's 85 degrees outside. Feels like 89 tonight, though, Gresh. It might drop down about 67 overnight. Sleep well a little bit, but then you're just going to wake up tomorrow, another beautiful day. But I, as I get older, I just appreciate it so much.
Are you a windows open sleeper when it can happen down there? Because I know the climate is so different.
I love that you asked the question. My wife is from LA and we met in LA and it's windows open all the time. You never use AC in LA ever. Most places don't have it, but down here, a lot of bugs down here, Gresh. So you don't really go, you can go screens here or there, but even on the humidity is such that other than a few nights a year, it's almost like feast or famine. It's almost like too cold to open them, or it's humid at 70 and you don't want it. But
I hear you. We found for our, little backyard oasis, a little thing called Mosquito Squad, and they come out every 2 weeks and they nuke the bugs because we have woods behind our back fence.
Forget it.
And it would be really bad. So it's almost like we have to have it if we want to enjoy the backyard. And there are a few things that I have been told, no, we're paying for that. Like my wife's normally not that way. Normally I could do it. She's like, no, we're doing that.
Yeah.
She's like, don't ever take it off the list. She's like, I'm just telling you right now. So for 10 years, we've been really good with them coming and nuking it, but it's tough because like some people get, real uppity about that. All right, I shouldn't do that. It's like, listen, I'm not wiping them off the planet. I'm just trying to keep my backyard from being full of insects.
I don't want to wipe them off my forehead.
Yeah, exactly. I want to use my pool and not have to like dive into the water to get away from the bugs and stuff like that. No, you gotta do it right. And anyway, good luck to our guy Cody, who's on a little trip right now. If you follow at Cody_Marrow, at Cody Marrow on Twitter or Instagram, you may end up seeing why I'm going to say deer jerky is delicious. And that's no lie. And I think our guy Cody knows. Have you ever had deer jerky?
No.
Have you ever had a venison steak? Have you eaten?
Cody's hunting. He's just sending us some. All right, Bone.
Oh, dude, he got one, man.
There's our dude.
There's our guy. And you know what? And he even put in the chat, venison jerky is amazing. It really is.
Wow.
Yep. Deer jerky, turkey jerky, all that stuff. It's way, way better than you think.
Impressive.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, that's it for us. Hopefully we got the picks. Cody's got the venison. We will see you next week here on Gas.